short episode because we don't have one story that we were trying to do, and
Mm.
it's late as balls. So yeah.
We'll just keep going
One
as long.
chapter.
We'll just keep going for as long as you guys want. We'll just keep going for. And
Yes, we're on chapter 4.
yep, we're live.
Yeah, one chapter.
Say Nova.
One chapter.
I don't think it will be one chapter. They're too short for that.
I think
So-
we'll just keep go as long as you guys feel comfortable with.
I mean, you just said it's probably going to be short.
I mean, as short as the last episode at max is probably what I meant to say.
Okay. All right. Well.
Because it's a weekend and this wasn't really supposed to happen anyways. And we're live, folks. How are you? This is Story Time with Scrappy and Friends.
Quality.
Yeah, we're back with another weekend edition because we wanted a Halloween episode, but nothing happens according to plan here.
Not really, no.
Yes, we had scheduling issues, so we're just going forward with our continuation of the Pokemon story called Erika by Pika Blue Kachu.
Yep.
With us again is Nova.
Hello.
And our eternally beleaguered audio guy, Harry.
Hi there, ho there. It's the Coach C here. I had to say that. I'm sorry.
You're not sorry. Last time on Erika, Sabrina regaled the tales of her life and how she basically grew up lonely.
Basically.
She broke some windows. It was awesome.
That
And now she's going to meet.
that just reminds me of the part in Shrek where all the windows get broken. Anyways,
Right now we have to read Shrek's story. Thanks, Harry.
I didn't suggest that, but I mean, if you you can look for one if you want.
It is law now. Okay, and this time around, Sabrina is going to meet the iconic rival. Erika, Chapter 4. Color, spelled with a U because the author is probably from Europe or Canada.
Hey, representing.
I was now in my late teens, and confidence in my battle ability was all I needed. My high intellect and battle prowess, combined with my serious lack of social skills, led me to become a polite but intimidating person.
I treated my opponents with dignity and respect, but behaved as though I was far above them from the moment I met them to the moment I crushed them in battle. Despite this, I no longer got any exhilaration or joy from Pokemon battle. Whatever spark used to be there was gone, and I was simply following the path of profession I was good at. I fulfilled my duty as Saffron City's gym leader to the best of my ability without any difficulty, and that was all. My ability to peer a short ways into the future only exacerbated my confidence, as I could see the defeat of most trainers who came to challenge me before I had even met them. But there was one extremely unusual month that changed everything. The same month that Team Rocket took control of Saffron City before being given the boot almost as suddenly as they arrived. Perhaps the most shocking thing about the Team Rocket incident for me was that I did not see them as a long-term threat at all. I plainly foresaw that the defeat would be swiftly delivered by a trainer I had never even heard of before. As a result, I chose not to lift a finger against the rocket and merely let destiny run its course. A few days after the Team Rocket incident predictably blew over, I foresaw that a different, exceedingly powerful trainer would storm Saffron Gym, like a rampaging primate or something that was invulnerable to psychic type attack somehow. Anyway, he was rude, far more rash than the challengers I was used to. He barged through the front doors, smashed every gym trainer, and dashed through the warp tunnels at random until he found me.
Gosh. You really went out of your way to make your gym a pain in the butt to navigate, huh? You're way too pretentious.
He tutted at me. What an arrogant attitude.
Luckily for you, I'm still in the mood for a battle.
I crossed my arms and tapped my elbow with my finger irritably. I grimaced a little, but attempted to keep my calm. I was slightly taken aback, though, as I could not foresee the outcome of the battle. You talk big, but I have known for a while that you would come. My psychic powers have been strictly trained since childhood. Since you desire it, I will show you the powers that saw me become Saffron City's gym leader. Ah, you talk big? I regretted saying that from the moment the battle began. His Pokemon matched his aggressive energy beat for beat. In terms of raw strength, they were unlike anything I had battled in quite some time. The battle ended with the boy as the victor. I felt shamed by my defeat to such a brat, but did not show it, of course. Evidently, he wasn't in the mood to stand around and chat. What a relief. I quietly picked out a marsh patch and handed it to him. He romped up to me and snatched it out of my hand.
Come on, you can be faster than that. I've got places to be. Champions to become. Smell you later, Granny.
Granny? What? With that, he was gone. I stood still and took a deep breath out. I shook my head and brushed my hair straight again, carefully using my telekinesis to pull apart the knots and flatten it down. How irritating. Why did he call me Granny? I'd barely begun to collect myself when the phone rang. I literally jumped in the spot and sighed very loudly, causing my Alakazam to raise his eyebrows at me. Yes, I'm okay. Just surprised. It's not often at all that my phone rings. Actually, barely ever. I was so overwhelmed by that trainer's brute force that I had not foreseen the call either. I picked up and was met with my third surprise of the day.
Sabrina, good day to you.
Erika? Oh, for the love of art! She beamed over the video phone. She shone brightly. But speaking to her like this wasn't warm like it was talking to her in person. I composed myself before speaking. Erika, to what do I owe this pleasure?
It's nothing serious. I just wanted to notify you that an excitingly impressive trainer will be headed your way very soon.
She replied, still with that annoyingly captivating smile on her face. Yes, this was the first time I had spoken to her since all that happened. It had been at least a couple of years since we'd so much as acknowledged each other's existence. I was hardly inspired by the trainer who had just swaggered in and out of here. So why now? Out of the blue? If you meant blue, he just left. I scoffed, the taste of defeat still bitter on my tongue. Erika stared quietly for a second and tilted her head. Ah, she's cute, I thought to myself. I felt my passionless heart thaw slightly. She then looked like she realized something and waved her hand from side to side in front of her face.
No. Professor Oak's grandson? I almost forgot about him. No, not him. You'll see.
She seemed excited. Um, okay. I didn't really have anything to say. I was still confused by that she had called me for this. I opened my mouth again to say something, but nothing came out. I was honestly still lost for words as she had suddenly reappeared after all this time. Again.
After they pay you a visit, we should catch up. See you soon.
And just like that, she hung up. Ah! I rolled over to the couch and plopped myself on. Ah! I stared at the ceiling. I ran my hands through my hair and then left them over my eyes. Arceus! I grumbled and mumbled out loud and clutched my hand to my freshly aching chest. I could physically feel my heart pumping. It reverberated emptily in that chasm Erika excavated and left there years ago. I tried to calm my breathing and just lay there for a while. Evidently, I rose and the blood rushed back to my mind. I caught Alakazam staring at me again. He was evidently concerned. I smiled slightly and got up off the couch. I see you're still far more emotionally mature than I am, huh? I huffed a small sigh. Alakazam frowned. He could tell that what I said was simply an attempt to laugh off my issues. I knew immediately what he felt, not just because we were telepathic, but because it was the truth. I bit my lip. Then I bit it a little harder. Ah! Ah! I exclaimed out loud, surprised by the vision of a near future that flashed into my mind. I saw a trainer with a shining figure making their way to the gym. Is this who Erika meant? My heart started to pump again, and I immediately head towards the battle room to await them. I subconsciously chewed my bleeding lip. Then, just a few moments later, a knock on the front doors of the gym. What? This day was just too abnormal. A knock? I thought. Very peculiar. Trainers typically just let themselves in to begin a gym challenge. The knocks did not stop. I stared at Alakazam, puzzled. He stared right back and lightly shrugged. I let out an irritated sigh and made my way to the gym entrance. I expected to have to explain how gyms work to a naive trainer, but when I opened the door, it was not a trainer at all, but a detective. I stared at him and blinked. He seemed like quite a plain and unassuming man, and amidst all the other surprises today, I had not sensed his presence even slightly.
Greetings, gym leader Psychic Sabrina. I am the detective known by the codename Looker.
He enthusiastically but professionally pulled out a badge from his large dark trench coat and showed it to me.
I am with the International Police and am hunting down the Team Rocket's cruel mastermind. Let me retry that. I am with the International Police and am hunting down the Team Rocket's cruel mastermind. I must earnestly ask you for your assistance at this time.
Oh, the rockets. I suppose it was only natural the police would turn up asking about them at some point. Those villains had the whole of Saffron City on lockdown mere days ago, after all. Either way, I had never seen this man before, nor did I know that the International Police currently had infantry in Kanto. His badge appeared to check out, but I was initially quite taken aback by how strong his accent was. European, perhaps? Anyway, I would be happy to cooperate with you, detective, but I fear my insight may not be all that informative. I foresaw that a child would easily chase the rockets out of the city, and so was confident that further action was not needed.
A trainer of Pallet Town? Yes, very interesting. Always seeming to be one step ahead of the police, that child.
He did not seem to take issue with my testimony at all. I suppose he had likely met other powerful psychic type trainers.
And you have met with this trainer.
No, they have not challenged me yet, but they will. I meant to imply that the trainer would arrive soon, but Looker then abruptly asked me just one more question.
Before I depart, are you able to discern the identity of Team Rocket's leader with your ability?
I gave it a moment of thought, while my practical application of psychic ability was still relatively limited. I gently shook my head. Apologies, Detective. All I can tell you is that he is a man of esteemed reputation. Looker continued to wear a serious expression, jotted down some notes quickly, and gave a small bow.
Your help has been appreciated to the utmost degree. Come, Growlithe.
He casually called on his Pokemon companion to follow. Then they turned and darted away. Wait! I tried to call out to him, but he was already gone. The trainer's literally moments away. Did he not want to interview them too? What a strange man. I made my way back to the battle room of the gym. No sooner had I gotten there, they arrived. The trainer who appeared before me didn't appear to be anything special. At first, I foresaw myself defeating them easily enough. They introduced themselves with a quiet confidence and did not have much else to say. It made my own introduction look theatrical by comparison. I had a vision of your arrival. I have had psychic powers since I was a child. It started when a spoon I carelessly tossed bent. I dislike battling, but if you wish, I will show you my powers. The trainer appeared ordinary, but the way they instructed their Pokemon seemed like second nature to them. In retrospect, it was actually quite a close battle, but it did not feel like it. When I handed over the Marsh badge, I told them my loss shocked me, and it did. I foresaw myself defeating them after all. When they sent out their final Pokemon against my Alakazam, I thought, it's just a Pikachu. Now I feel like a fool. When I remember how they interacted with their Pokemon as if they were like siblings or close friends, I realized that I never stood a chance. But I was not unhappy. This felt different. Things looked different in this unexpected outcome of the future, as, it, as if I had been introduced to a new way of looking at the world. Still, there was one more thing about that day that really bugged me. Something I still haven't told anyone else about. When I stared that trainer in the eyes, an unfamiliar future briefly flashed through my mind. It wasn't just a day or week ahead. It felt like it was much farther ahead than I had ever seen before. I couldn't tell if it was even the same world as this. My gym looked different. I looked different. The trainer stood before me looked different. But they had that same glint in their eyes. After I closed up the gym for the day, I went to visit Erika in Salomon City as she suggested. I did not deliberate the decision. I just went. I knocked quietly, suddenly feeling like my gym leader bravado had left. When she opened the door for me, I almost had to squint to shield my eyes from her brightness. I, I struggled to look at her directly at her and constantly averted my gaze from her, ashamed. But she looked directly on me, shining her sunlight on me like she used to.
Come in. We have so much to talk about.
She said gleefully. She seemed excited and brushed her hand on to my shoulder as I walked through the door. I stared at the ground and flushed red, but I smiled slightly too. Just like that, she was in my life once again.
And end chapter. You didn't tell me Looker was in this, Harry.
I... I don't remember I remember a good chunk of the characters, but I think some of them, are, less important than others, let's say. Um... So yeah, what did you guys think?
It's about...
Scrappy.
Pardon?
No, just wondering if you heard.
Oh, my throat. Yeah, it's... I liked it.
It's good.
Yeah, I don't have much else to say. It was a decent reinterpretation of the Saffron City arc of Red and Blue.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I'm happy to know that the rival is just as much of a douche to the gym leaders as he is to the player character.
Yeah.
What about you, Nova?
I'm gonna save my thoughts for the end.
Okay.
Alright, then on to chapter 5. Oh, yes, this is according to the author's notes that chapter 4 was the end of flashbacks.
Alright.
Let's see. Chapter 5 Friend. Present time. A lot has changed in the past year, at least from the life I was used to. It felt impossible to really go back to how things were before.
My brief encounter with the champions simply changed too much about how I saw the world. It sounds dramatic, but they connected with me in a way that I used to. And they connected their Pokemon. They connected with their Pokemon similarly. They connected with everyone they met. And when I learned that so much power and passion could come from things like connections, I began to feel like there was so much I did not know about the world, or my own power. My own power that I was taught from childhood was better off without emotional interference. I began to feel jealous towards the champion, who was such an awe-inspiring person compared to me. I began to feel empty. I began to overthink everything, which is what caused me to become so mentally overwhelmed by my failure to evolve Eevee into an Espeon. Speaking of my latest psychic outburst, I was now meeting with Erika relatively regularly again, just not almost every day like when we were in our mid-teens. Sometimes I would invite her, sometimes she would invite me. She was more open than she used to be, but was still the picture of grace and serenity she's always been. She had also gotten really tall. She must be almost 6 foot now. She was not a lonely person, and yet chose to spend time with me regardless. I was grateful for this, but it often caused me anxiety. It felt like something of a mutually beneficial companionship and a schedule I'd become relatively comfortable with. I would confide simple things in her, like how work was going, what kinds of Pokemon I was training, and she would confide similar things to me. I told her about how my frustration over Eevee caused my gym to short circuit, because it was difficult to avoid the subject of my gym's renovation. I was anxious she would be scared away or angry again, like the time I became overwhelmed outside her gym. But when I told her that my gym would be rebuilt to be more eco-friendly to avoid further short-circuiting, she stared at me, her eyes sparkling. She had this ridiculous grin on her face, as if I was incredible. She did not seem disturbed that I lost control of my powers again. She responded by passionately expressing her own frustrations to me about Ceylon City's pollution problem. While she was making more green spaces in the west of the city, the east still needed a lot of work. There was one pond that had become even more polluted since last year. She ranted about this with no filter. She had so much to say. Quite different from the highly serene Erika I was used to. I listened to everything she said intently. My gym upgrade being good for the environment was honestly a coincidence, but seeing how much it meant to her made me want to do more. She made me care. I used my influence to urge others in Saffron City to do more for the environment, and I plan to partner with Silk to rebuild some parts of the city to be more eco-friendly. Again, she was overjoyed to hear what I was doing. The next time we saw one another, she rushed up to me and embraced me in gratitude. It was not for long, but it was the first time anything like that had happened. My heart raced, but when she pulled back and the moment ended, I was immediately filled with a familiar uncertainty once more. See, this has been the happiest year of my life so far, but I had never felt more miserable. After the last time Erika left my life, I've been constantly scared it could happen again. I did not want to trust her, but every time she was warm to me, my heart became more and more invested and comfortable in her presence. It wasn't just Erika, though. My encounter with the champion made me long for answers to many frustrating questions. What makes a truly strong Pokemon trainer? What is friendship? Love? I was practically a young adult now, but knew so little, and nothing I did seemed to help. I was scared that I would never learn and would never grow. I, I would just be this, emotionless, empty, husk, forever. But I don't want to be like this. I hate this emptiness. So eventually I decided it would be better to say something about it rather than let myself be like this forever. It would be better to face the possible upset of my delicate schedule than never find answers. I decided I would open up about it to the only person I was more than acquaintances with next time we spent time together. It was just a few weeks after the gym refurbishing incident, and things in my personal life were beginning to calm down again. As the bustle of fixing things up faded, the insecurities began to creep back into my unoccupied mind. Tonight, then, I thought. Erika and I typically met in Celadon City. It was not inconvenient for me, and she often seemed hesitant to leave and visit me in Saffron. That evening, we planned to meet on the rooftop of Celadon department store as usual. She walked to the seat across the table from me and began to chat, calmly and cheerfully.
Sabrina, Sabrina, I'm fairly certain, like I spotted a hoot hoot down near the fountain earlier.
She was just about to tell me about how the greening in West Celadon was going, but the moment she sat down, I interrupted and blurted assertively, "I need your help." She blinked and looked a little surprised at my out of character of assertiveness, and gently replied,
Go on.
"That was it. The invitation I must have been waiting for. Before my mind could even settle and think about what I had to say, words began erupting from me like a magmar. All this time, for years, I thought I was supposed to be okay with how I was. I thought this was what my life as a gym leader was supposed to be like. I thought I was supposed to be strong, cool, calm, and collected. But when I see people like the champion, people like you, I think, what if I'm only those things because I'm empty inside? I'm nothing like everyone else. I don't shine. I don't blaze. I just exist. What if I'm incompatible with emotion? How can I ever be half the trainer that the champion is? Half the person they are? If I cannot truly understand people or Pokemon, I can read people's minds, but what good does it do when I cannot even understand myself? I lay awake at night, asking myself what's wrong with me. How can I fix my broken mind? Was I wrong all these years to think emotion was a detriment to my abilities? How could I become a more emotional person even if I wanted to be? Was everything I taught as a child just wrong? My voice was steady at first, but I began to speak faster and more in more elevated tones as the question cascading around my mind burst out of my mouth in a wave. Sometimes I become so scared that I know and understand so little that I'll just die alone and friendless without ever learning what friendship and love even are, without ever identifying those experiences or how they informed who I am, without figuring out what to call this horrible persistent ache in my guts or the chasm in my chest that makes me feel like I need a gasp for air. But I am so tired of these non-stop questions plaguing my once calm mind. I'm so tired of feeling this all my life. This is all my life can ever be. I want to understand. I don't want to be like this. This empty, feeling, emotionless husk of a person anymore. It was truly a messy stream of comments that reflected the turbulent chaos in my mind. My mouth stayed open, ready to say more, but my mind felt quiet, and nothing came. Nothing but a tired, dejected sounding croak. My throat hurt. After staring wide-eyed for a few moments, Erika giggled inside. I felt so ashamed that I felt the blood rush to my head, and my hair felt like it was standing on end. I tried to look away from her, but she put her hands on mine and stared at me dotingly, as if I was a dear family member, and she was so proud of me.
Sabrina, sweetie, can you truly call yourself an emotionless husk if with your eyes filled with tears like that?
I wiped my face with my sleeve. Oh! I managed to squeak, without realizing talking about this out loud to Erika was making me cry. The tears sat idly under my eyes at first, but after Erika pointed it out, I felt them running down my cheeks. She clapped her hands together.
I'm relieved.
I stared at her, puzzled. My head hurt.
I'm really sorry, Sabrina. I've been egging you on all this time, trying to understand if you wanted us to become closer, or if you genuinely preferred solitude.
She she looked a little sad.
But I would be really happy to help you if you want it. And I'm happy you asked me.
I grinded my teeth slightly as I thought she was pitying me. I wish you had said something, I said quietly. I suppose, kinda grumpily. She apologized again and clasped my hands a little tighter.
I know that now. I really am sorry.
I nodded and gave her a slight smile to show her I understood. I didn't feel like saying anything. I was genuinely just relieved, though. It kind of felt like there was a little pop in my head, and the previously high pressure began to ease its way out. Erika stood up and walked next to me. She said,
Look at me. Look at my eyes.
I struggled, but I did as she said. She put both her hands on my shoulders and stared at me with this fiery look of determination.
Lesson lesson number 1. You need to leave your comfort zone more often. I want you to close your gym tomorrow morning and meet my friend and I near the Celadon fountain for tea. Understand?
She ordered absurdly. I stared wide-eyed back at her, my tears drying, and nodded slightly meekly. Yes! I finally responded. Erika beamed at me with an almost V-shaped mouth and clapped her hands together.
Right then. I'll see you tomorrow, sweetie. Bright and early.
She turned around and headed towards the elevator, but before she went in, she turned back to me once more.
By the way, Sabrina, I have always considered you a friend. Always. I hope you'll consider me a friend too.
She left me alone at Ceylon City's dark moonlit rooftop, defumigating all the steam from my bright red face. Catching my breath, drying my cheeks, before long, I made my way home and enjoyed my heavy sleep in months.
And end chapter 5.
Damn, these are going by so fast. It's only been half an hour. So you have anything to say, Scrappy?
Killed it.
Yeah, Nova did a really good job with the emotion. Solid performance.
It's like I said last episode, there's a lot of emotions here really that I really connect with more deeply than probably the average person, or rather the average Joe probably would, because even though like Scrappy said last episode, like a lot of these feelings are universal, uh, but sometimes it, if it has certain like phrases or certain words string together to express the emotion of the moment, it sometimes it just makes it feel more all that more personal.
Yeah.
Because like honestly, it it was so easy for me to be able to interpret the emotion uh, when she was ranting, because I'm kind of in some ways where she, where she was at that moment right now.
Mm.
I'm
And
sorry to hear
so,
that.
yeah, so like I said, it was pretty easy for me to be able to convey the emotions of that particular scene, because it's and because at least for I'm pretty much at least am experiencing like some of the exact same emotions she just went through right now, and a lot, and some of the same thought processes in particular as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't really have much to add to that. Yeah, it's man, it's some heavy stuff.
It ended nicely.
Yeah.
Onward, chapter 6. Did I drop out?
No, you're still here.
I think I called briefly cut out. Okay. Onward, chapter 6, T. The next morning, I woke and rubbed the sand from my eyes. I still felt heavy from my crying the night before. The rest of my body felt light, though, including my head, which had been thumping angrily at me less than a day ago.
I promptly washed my face and prepared to leave the gym. I grimaced briefly at the unprofessional idea of leaving my gym clothes for the morning, but I didn't even need to weigh my options. Of course I wanted to see my friend. It was about 9 a.m. By the time I arrived in Telenon, I was actually a little anxious that I was late, but I had slept so heavily last night and didn't even think to set an alarm to make the early trip to the next city. I hadn't actually been to Celadon Fountain before. Erika's pet project, the one she was by far the most proud of, completed a major upgrade mere weeks ago. It was a serene public space in front of the busy department store. I didn't understand nature like she did, but even I felt like I could appreciate how it negated the intense metropolitan vibe of the huge emporium. So normally I would feel relatively relaxed coming here, but I spotted Erika sitting at a table opposite another girl. They were chatting away happily while sipping tea. I felt my guts turning slightly. Ugh. Last night Erika told me a friend of hers would be there too, didn't she? I was so distracted by my own loud emotions that I'd completely gone in one ear and out the other. She was quite small, must have been around the champion's age or perhaps slightly older, and was sat next to a large yellow Pokemon I had not seen before. My pace slowed and my enthusiasm waned. I felt the urge to just turn back home. I don't know. Was it anxiety or jealousy? Before long, though, Erika spotted me and her expression notably brightened. I mean, I physically noticed a change in her face when she saw me. Was I imagining things? She gave me a gentle, warm smile as she waved at me and beckoned me over. I relaxed slightly, feeling my confidence return, and walked towards them. Despite the sun beating down this morning, Erika was dressed in a full kimono like always. She fanned herself gently with an ornate foldable fan. Needless to say, she was a picture of radiant grace, as always. I felt flustered that someone like her afforded me attention like this. As I got close, Erika called out to me.
I'm so happy. Pardon me. I'm so happy you decided to join us, Sabrina. Please grab a chair and sit.
I felt like throwing out a snarky response. Like, of course I came. You invited me? But I bit my tongue. For all she knew, I might have preferred to open the gym today like usual instead of taking her up. I pouted slightly as all 3 chairs at the table were taken. So I shuffled over to an empty neighboring table and took one of the spare chairs. I placed it next to Erika's, but not too close. Erika carefully placed some tea in front of me. It was still piping hot. After I sat, I looked at Erika next to me. I could not see her mouth from behind her fan, but due to the mischievous shape of her eyes, I could tell she was grinning. She shuffled her chair closer to mine, close enough for our arms to occasionally brush. She smelled nice, and her aura was soothing to be in. With her free hand, she grabbed mine and put it on the table, encouraging me to look at the other girl in the eye. I mean, it worked, but I wish she hadn't done it in a way that made my face feel so hot.
Sabrina, this is Jasmine, Olivine City's gym leader. Jasmine, this is Sabrina, Saffron's gym leader.
I convinced myself to look at Jasmine. She was really young, and she wore a simple white beach dress. Her hair was long and fair, with pigtails she had pinned upwards. While it might look childish on anyone else, She pulled it off in a way that somehow made her look mature for her age. I met her light hazel eyes just as she introduced herself.
Oh dear. um, good to meet you, Sabrina. Miss Erika has told me so much.
Rather than talk about herself more, she seemed eager to introduce her companion. She awkwardly gestured to the large yellow Pokemon sat beside her.
This is Amphi, an Ampharos who is a very close friend of mine. I decided to bring Amphi to see Erika and Celadon Fountain today to perk our spirits.
The Ampharos headbutted Jasmine affectionately. I found it interesting that she kept the Pokemon outside its Pokeball. It reminded me of the champion. I also noted that when Jasmine began to talk about Amphi, her stuttering eased and she became more relaxed. Hello to you too, Gym Leader Jasmine. It is a pleasure to finally make your formal acquaintance. Erika elbowed my stomach lightly and I reacted with a quiet ah.
Ah,
She peered at me from over her hand fan, almost disapprovingly.
relax, Sabrina.
She whispered.
No need for formalities here, we're all friends.
Friends? Just like that? No, it's not that simple. Jasmine could probably hear her as she smiled at me mischievously. I smiled back and sighed. It's good to finally meet you, Jasmine. Is Ampharos, Amphi, a steel-type Pokemon? I had heard that Jasmine was a gym leader specializing in the steel type, a type that was previously thought to be uncommon in Kanto. Ampharos looked more like an electric type Pokemon, however. Jasmine shook her head.
No, Amphi is an electric type Pokemon, as you may have guessed.
She scratched Amphi's long neck.
Amphi is not actually a battle partner, but is the very important light source of Olivine Lighthouse. Amphi gets cabin fever sometimes, though, so in daylight I like to bring them out for some fresh air.
She initially appeared to be extremely shy, but Jasmine became notably more at ease when talking about Amphi, almost like a different person. The pair both took a sip from their tea and synced and grinned at each other like old friends. She was so young, but appeared to have a strong understanding with Pokemon, and it admittedly made me smile.
The tea is the tea is wonderful as always, Miss Erika.
Jasmine said with delight. Amphi nodded enthusiastically.
Please, just Erika is fine, seriously.
Huh, I guess Amphi likes tea. I thought to myself, I wonder if they're drinking jasmine tea. That would be pretty funny. I giggled but ultimately kept that thought to myself, not wanting to sound weird. I glanced at Erika after I laughed and spotted her eyes looking back at me, though she still covered her mouth with her fan. It looked like she smiled. I think she was proud of me, but I still wasn't feeling too talkative. We sat in silence and sipped tea for a few moments. It was peaceful, but I did not know what to say, and it seemed like Jasmine too had fallen shy again. As if reading the mood perfectly, Erika piped up.
Say, Sabrina, why not ask Jasmine if she has any advice about your Eevee?
She really put me on the spot. If it was Erika's intention to force me to talk about things I typically would prefer not to, it was working. Not wanting to be embarrassed by saying no, I swallowed my pride and explained to Jasmine that I could not get Eevee to evolve into an Espeon. Jasmine leant her elbows on the table and rested her chin on her hands. She then lifted her head and took another sip of tea.
In Johto, some Pokemon species were allegedly discovered through being treated differently to the way a trainer typically raises them.
I nodded, indicating that I wanted her to go on.
For example, a Cantonian Poliwhirl would normally evolve into a Poliwrath after being exposed to a water stone, correct? But certain rare rock formations found in Johto can help it to evolve into a Pokemon called Politoed instead. Some trainers have told me that Pokemon that had a lot of fun experiences seem to evolve in different ways too, but research into this is still quite early.
They are slightly wide-eyed. I knew that there were many ways of evolving Pokemon in Kanto, but I had not fully considered that the environment of a region could influence even a Kanto species to evolve differently. So, you think Eevee may evolve into an Espeon or Umbreon differently to its peers? Jasmine nodded.
Yes, we have some evolutionary stones in Johto that are uncommon in Kanto, such as the Dusk and Shiny stones. Eevee does not react to any of them, and yet I have met trainers with Espeon and Umbreon and uh, even some other Eevee-related Pokemon that I am less familiar with.
Incredible. Well, it was more commonly seen Pokemon I was unfamiliar with in Kanto. It appeared that Eevee possessed even more evolutionary potential than I expected. I looked at Jasmine in amazement. I underestimated you. There's still so much about Pokemon I do not know. She blushed and avoided my eyes.
It's really nothing. This sort of thing is just more common in Johto. When I first visited Kanto, I was surprised to see Pokemon like Pikachu in the wild. And Erika's Vileplume. The Pokemon Blossom is comparatively more common in Johto.
Jasmine took a deep breath in and Ampy appeared amused. I could tell she was slightly flustered by my compliment and was attempting to sound modest, but I did not mind. I chuckled. She was easy to get along with, and I found myself growing fond of her. Maybe Erika was right when she said we could be friends. The whole while, Erika was nodding calmly. She looked relieved and pleased.
The Celadon Fountain truly is pleasant at this time in the morning, is it not? It's calm, the air is fresh, and the area is relatively empty.
I had a quick look around. She was right. The grass and the flowers were shimmering in the sunlight, but the city's hustle and bustle was closer to the store than the fountain space. Erika continued.
Most people aren't at work, school, or shopping at this time of day, and most of the activity in this area around now is the occasional cyclist or trainer passing through Route 16.
She stood up and looked around, holding out her arms and taking a deep breath. The way her eyes glimmered as she took the area in made her look elated. She was truly proud of this place. I found myself staring at her calm, proud expression. Just seeing her like this was enough to make my soul feel at ease too. Jasmine piped up.
Miss Sabrina, you should consider bringing your Pokemon to enjoy the air here sometime. I'm certain it would be good for them.
In response, I just nodded. Seeing Amphy sitting alongside Jasmine, drinking tea with us, made me wonder why I did not spend more time with my Pokemon like this. I cared for them, but they were more than colleagues, weren't they? For a while, we quietly enjoyed the peace and the warm sun. It didn't feel like too long a period, but it was already almost midday when Jasmine decided to make a move. She hopped off her chair and stretched, and Amphy imitated her.
Well, I should be heading back to Olivine for the afternoon.
She bowed her head gently.
Thank you both for your time today. It was most pleasant.
She smiled sweetly at both of us. I smiled back, and Erika playfully waved her fan.
We must do this again soon, dear. So long as so long as the train trip is not too inconvenient.
Jasmine nodded in agreement, gave Amphi a pat on the back, and the two made their way to Saffron City's train station. Jasmine's departure made me conscious of the time. Almost midday, I said aloud. I should probably be getting back too. I was, after all, still not totally okay with closing the gym on a workday. I turned towards Erika to say goodbye, but she had snuck right up to me, fan held mischievously in front of her mouth again. She eyed me up and down.
Far too stiff. Nope.
She grabbed my hand and began to tug me in the direction of her gym instead. Hey! I objected, but she just chimed back.
You still have a lot more relaxing to do. Come along. End chapter. Getting some mad slice of life anime vibes from this.
That's yeah. Yeah. It does give off that kind of vibe, which I like. It's very nice just seeing the characters interact with one another.
You can tell this was written before 2020 because people are just sitting in chairs in the open.
Oh god. Damn, dude.
If I have any complaint, it's that I think the author may have alright, never mind. They misspelled a word, but no. Mischievous. I always pronounce it as mischievous.
Fair enough.
No, not fair. I'm butchering the pronunciation.
Well. Oh well.
Okay, so Erika has a bit of a troll side. I can see it. She's emanating Nozomi energy.
A little bit. I can kind of see that.
She's definite I can definitely see her as the den mother of other gym leaders, but she seems like she knows how to cut loose when she wants to.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
That was a fun chapter, and the author just keeps on apologizing for the chapters being long, but they're not long.
We've gone through till we make our ascent. This is nothing.
That was, yeah. I can't. Every time they pick a Blue Kachu, greatest name ever, by the way, keeps on apologizing for the long chapters. I'm just like, oh, this is nothing.
It's just like, yeah, that's cute. But no.
Okay.
Oh, what are you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna make a fucking meme joke because basically Pika Blukachu is apologizing for long chapters all the time, and then Ottermelon as Principal Skinner comes up and says, "Pathetic."
Oh.
Oh no. Oh, that's
We
brilliant.
should get Ottermelon in for an episode sometime.
You can ask him if he'd be willing to do that. I haven't really said anything about that. It also depends, like, what story would we have him join for?
Star Wars, let's go.
Yeah, make him hate us. Good. Yeah, I don't know. I never really considered that, but we can discuss that in our own time, I guess.
If I have to suffer, you all have to suffer. I'm just kind of paying attention to that smoking meat in the background of the boss fight.
Oh, you're looking at the game now? Oh, yeah.
I think that's meat.
I don't even... Yeah, I think it is. I'm busy trying not to die, so I can't focus on that.
Okay.
We doing another chapter?
Yeah, I think we can do at least one more.
Yeah, because these have been blazing through these. I wasn't expecting to do, like, this many chapters this quickly, I'll be frank. It might...
I mean, you guys... You push for the long form story. I expected this to take longer than just a few sessions.
To be honest, I did too. I think it was just because the way I read it, I read it a lot more slowly compared to this, so maybe I just misremembered how long it actually was. I do remember the sequel story being a lot longer though, so I guess we'll see how that goes, but yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, this ain't really gonna take that many episodes, I think.
Alright, then. Chapter 7, A Brief Peace. As Erika had left the gym closed today too, it was empty and quiet. As she unlocked the door to let us in, I tried to object again. Hey, Erika, I really don't think I should leave Saffron Gym closed for such a long time on a workday. Erika scoffed. Nonsense. Viridian Gym was closed for months. She grabbed my hand again and tugged me inside, so I followed, red in the face and pouting.
I really don't think that's a fair comparison, I argued, weakening the feet. I really didn't want to be here with her, and my stomach was doing cartwheels in joy that seemed to be actively wanting to spend more time with me, too.
Look, sit here and relax, okay? I'm going to bring out some rice balls, and then do some gardening. We can chat, or you can just watch.
She sat me down on the grass insistently, next to the spot she usually awaits gym challengers. I sighed and pouted again. Why? And she responded by confidently fanning herself with that captivating, mischievous twinkle in her eyes again. She was doing that a lot today.
Because I promised I would help you. I promised I would help you. Lesson number 1, leave your comfort zone more often, remember?
I avoided eye contact with her for a moment to think about what she'd said.
You are the boss of your own life. It is professional to open a gym as much as possible, but not a contractual obligation. I won't even force you to stay here. But if you want my advice as your friend, I think you should spend most of the day with me.
I responded with silence at first. My brain told me I should argue, but she was right. I sighed and tried to make myself relax, as Erika brought out a few rice balls. Thank you. We sat closely together on the grass and ate a rice ball each. Delicious. I cheered up pretty quickly now that I was here. Speaking of Viridian Gym, I thought aloud. Did it ever get a new gym leader? Erika shrugged before responding.
It doesn't seem like it. People come and go. A lot of prospective trainers are put off by that place. I cannot say I blame them. Still, I did hear that a lot of younger, more hot-headed trainers are interested in that gym.
I swallowed the rest of a rice ball. Erika, how do you find out all this stuff? She responded frankly.
Because I talked to a lot of people, Sabrina.
Fair enough. The lights in the gym were off, with some ribbons of light streaming through the windows from outside. The air was quite cool, but not cold. Besides, just being near Erica was pleasantly warm, as always. It was so quiet. We just sat together in silence, contented. For once, I decided to speak my mind. Nothing helps me relax quite like you do, Erica. Erica said nothing in response. She giggled and ruffled my hair, probably with affection, but it was still annoying. I really like my hair to stay neat. After that, she got up.
I'm just going to water the. I'm just going to water the plants in the gym. Again, please make yourself at home, sweetie.
We smiled gently at one another, and she went about her business. I stretched out slightly. I tried, at great pains, to make myself at home as suggested. I found that it was much easier when I just watched her gardening. It was hard to believe that just yesterday I was too scared to even consider Erica a friend. Now here I was, being scolded for working too hard, and then sharing quiet moments of silence with the person I'd focused my attentions on for so long. Was this it? Were all my years of frustration and uncertainty about Erica's place in my life going to be solved just like that? What caused that to change so suddenly? What caused Erica to welcome me back so quickly? I rolled onto my side and inconspicuously clutched my chest. I still felt that anxiety somewhere inside me. Friendship isn't that simple, I guess. I sat up and watched Erika gardening again, and I distanced myself from the lingering feeling of anxiety. The way the sunlight filtered through the small windows and landed on her jet black hair was captivating. I felt like I could see every individual strand, bouncing care, carefreely with every step she took. She hummed quietly. She intended her garden to her garden. I suppose it was not strange she refined little schedule events like that to make the job more rhythmical. Or maybe I was overthinking it. Ah, Arceus. She was beautiful, though. She really was a breathtaking individual to me. I felt myself thinking how lucky I was to have met her all those years ago, for her to have been the one to allow me into her life. I truly hope that in the moment that we could stay together and just have more days like this. I continued to watch her quietly. She bent down to carefully tend to the soil. It was around this point that I caught my eyes transfixed on her rear. I mean, it was just interesting to see because she usually wears a full kimono, and actually, the way kimono hugged her backside like that, I don't think I'm necessarily a good judge, but her behind was actually really nice. She was just really aesthetically pleasing in a lot of ways. The moment I became conscious that these thoughts were actually running through my mind, I felt the blood rushing to my head, and I began to chew my lip, and I became extremely preoccupied with asking myself, why am I looking at her butt in the first place? How do I stop myself from thinking about it? I should just not look at it. If Erica ever found a lover, it would be really lucky actually just saying. Maybe if I make myself think about something else, like an egg, I ended up saying that out loud.
Hmm?
Erica must have heard me.
By the way, Sabrina, what do you think of Jasmine?
She asked, as if it had been on her mind. I, uh, hang on, what did she ask? About Jasmine? Uh, Jasmine? I was still bright red and my eyes felt like they had lost focus slightly, but I made myself look at Erica's head instead of elsewhere. Jasmine is a wonderful girl. I thought fondly of Jasmine now, despite having only met her hours ago and initially thinking the encounter would cause me jealousy or anxiety. Delightful and deceptively intelligent, I felt genuinely glad to have spent time with her.
Do you think do you think you could see her as a friend?
I nodded with a smile. I mean, I suppose I liked her, but the way I felt about Erica and Jasmine was completely different. That makes sense, though, right? I'd known Erica for years. We spent a few more hours together doing nothing particular until Erica deemed me, in her own words, sufficiently relaxed and granted me leave. As she began to open up the gym for the afternoon and I made my way out, I turned to her and clasped her hands in mine. She seemed almost surprised by my out-of-character display of physical contact, but smiled sweetly. "Thank you for today. I mean it," I said. I struggled to maintain eye contact with her, but this kind of earnest emotional gratitude was still kind of new to me. I feel nice, so even if it's frowned upon to close the gym on a weekday, I hope we can do this again sometime.
Then, let's make it a weekly thing.
Erica replied happily, without hesitation. I was much more hesitant. Uh, uh, Maybe not every week, maybe every 2 weeks. She pouted.
Fine, but I bet you get bored. I'm just a phone call away, okay?
She gave my hands a little rub.
I'm here for you, Sabrina. Oh, and next time, bring Evie and Alakazam along.
So I did. The next time we all met for tea in Salazar, I brought Evie and Alakazam and let them out of the Pokeball. Erica would let Vileplume out. Jasmine would let Magnemite out. We all shared tea and snacks together like friends, and I really enjoyed it. I was surprised by how entertaining and fulfilling it was to spend time with Pokemon leisurely. Alakazam knew me so well by now, and I think it was really proud of me for making more of an effort. Alakazam was not just a battle partner or a colleague. Alakazam was like another friend to me. I felt like such a fool for not realizing it sooner. Evie was quite shy and timid at first. He actually reminded me of me slightly, but he responded well to affection. He loved to be pet and fed and treats, and before long him and Alakazam got on quite well too. I told Alakazam that he made a good babysitter for Evie, and he responded,
Evie since a child, Sabrina.
"My bad. Okay, so at first I stood my ground. At first we did this every other week. It was really a little sporadic to begin with. Sometimes plans would clash or we'd meet in the afternoon instead of the morning. Sometimes Jasmine was not able to come. Actually, Jasmine was not able to bring Amphi along often, due to Amphi's important job at all of our lighthouse. But it was always a pleasure to see them. So before long we established some regularity. We closed our gyms and meet on Wednesday mornings every fortnight. And yeah, eventually I started wanting to do it every week like Erica originally suggested.
I told you.
Scrappy.
I said the line.
Oh, okay.
Let me try that again. I told you.
She teased, her fan in front of her mouth mischievously as she loved to do lately. It really did help to break up the weeks, though. It gave me something to look forward to and helped me give the energy to remain enthusiastic until the working week was over. I would sometimes meet someone new, like one of Erica's gym trainers or another gym leader. For example, Jasmine once brought Whitney along, a normal type gym leader from Goldavon City in Johto. She was a cute girl, a year or two older than Jasmine, but admittedly she was kind of intense. It really put Jasmine's own maturity for her age into perspective. We occasionally met with Janine too, Gym Leader Koga's daughter. Erica was already quite well acquainted with her, and they had met for tea in the past. Janine was a few years younger than Erica and spent half her time looking up to her father, and the other half of the time ranting about how she wished to surpass him someday. Ninjas operated in the shadows, but Janine actually felt trapped in her father's shadow. I haven't yet decided if this is poetic or cheesy. Anyway, these tea social events were also how I became reacquainted with Brock and Misty, who would both spend time in Celadon occasionally. They seemed to be friends, but they weren't always together. They initially still found me intimidating, which I resented, but I think my resentment proved I was actually changing, and I think they could tell.
Uh, I'm guessing this is Missy speaking. So, Erika, did you hear the? So, Erika, did you hear the latest on Viridian City Gym? Wait, actually, no, that's Brock speaking. So, Erika, did you hear the latest on Viridian City Gym? Oh, I don't think so. Do tell. Wait a minute, Brock. You got some juicy intel and didn't tell me yet?
Brock held his hands in front of himself defensively.
Give me a break. I only just found out about this yesterday.
And Misty pouted. I sipped some tea to try to hide the fact I was smirking.
Look, I heard that Oak kid has his eyes set on completely remaking the image of that dump.
We all raised our eyebrows.
That brat?
Misty slammed her hands on the table and shouted exactly what I was thinking. My eyebrow twitched as I remembered him. Erika shrugged.
It's been over... oh dear. It's been over a year since I've heard anything of that kid. Maybe a little excitement. Maybe a little excitement is just what that city needs.
Sure, I still wasn't much of a talker when anyone besides Erika or Jasmine were around, but I still felt like I was learning more about people. Heck, I finally felt in the loop as a gym leader. Most importantly, it was fun. They were all actually good people, all of them. Even Erika's gym trainers that I almost loathed with jealousy years ago. I just never saw it before. I felt my regrets slipping away the more we did this. Even my regrets about closing the gym. Still, after a few months, the old stressful questions left my mind and new ones made themselves at home instead. And they got louder and louder. Erika's behavior didn't help. I found her gradually becoming more and more comfortable inside my personal bubble. She always liked to sit our chairs close to each other, and I like to think it was to help me feel more secure. But after a few weeks of becoming more comfortable with each other, we would sit so close. She would sit so closely to me that her hips rested against mine. She could probably tell that it made my face beat red and made my mouth quiver like a sidewave attack. But I didn't mind. In fact, I happily reciprocated. We sat closely together and occasionally leaned on each other. It was warm, it was pleasant. I loved her smell, and I loved the fact she seemed happy to share a space with me and no one else. We occasionally spent more quiet and close moments on gym together too, just to catch up if we had way too much to talk about, or to escape for some peace or a tea session became too rowdy. Like that time Whitney suddenly started crying because she left her milk tank back in Calderon Gym, and I wanted her to try Erika's tea. But the privacy of Erika's closed gym just meant that our closeness to one another began to feel more intimate. We clearly enjoyed each other's physical company. I wanted to be near her warmth. We laid against each other. We played with each other's hair. We cuddled. At first, I didn't really pay attention to this or think anything of it. I was just happy that we're getting closer. But the sleepless nights began to return. And this time it was because my head and chest thumped loudly, my hands covering my red face, my fist clenching my fist, which rather than with an aching with a cold emptiness, ached with a longing, burning longing. I really wanted to be physically close to her. I felt like I would be happy holding her in my arms and staying that way. I felt myself looking at her behind and other features more often too. At first, out of curiosity, and then because I just wanted to, I don't know.
End chapter. Congratulations, Sabrina. You have learned thirst.
I like how the chapter ends with Sabrina just being a pervert. Oh god. The first is real.
Although with this now, I kinda call a bit of false advertising because it said slow burn, but that certainly didn't feel like a slow burn.
I
Again,
mean,
our minds have been warped by till we make our ascent.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
I mean, we're approaching the halfway point of the story, so
I mean,
the initial romance. This is about as I'd say this is a fair starting point for the initial romance.
I mean, the actual, like, romance thing, I think still won't actually happen for some time, though. This is basically more or less just planting the seeds for it.
Well, we're near the halfway point. That's fine.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I'm just saying that. I mean, granted, obviously, Kanto is based on a region in Japan, but I'm not quite sure that you know. This maybe just my own limited experience of talking, but even with something like that, I kind of don't think that some of those things would be happening between people who would really be happening that quickly between people, even if they're really close to each other, or uh, because, like I said, I make a joke about, oh, this is a slow burn. Well, this doesn't seem slow at all, but you kind of don't usually hear two people who still are only in the friend phase right now, just immediately start randomly cuddling out of nowhere and kind of not really have much. I guess not really have too much of a reaction to it. I mean, not necessarily having a problem with it, just not even having much of a reaction to it. So that kind of. I mean, granted, I suppose you can't just keep things going slow forever. Obviously, you have to keep quicken the pace at certain points, but it just kind of, I don't know, for me at least, it kind of felt like it started to accelerate a little bit to make up for lost time, like it needed to. It needed to make up.
One thing I will say about that is that the Sabrina and Erika are written to have known each other since they were a lot younger as well. So they already had like some chemistry from back then. So I guess there's that.
And that is a factor to consider, but even so, but considering how Sabrina still kind of was, even in her in her teenage years, it kind of, I don't know, it kind of felt like it was almost kind of reset for a while, like still at the base, and then the chemistry rekindled. When they started talking to each other more.
I suppose so. I think I think there's also the fact that like I think it's the idea with the last few paragraphs or what have you is that there's I'd imagine a decently long time skip. So I'd imagine a lot of that reconnecting happened just from that, and they just naturally got more used to being more intimate, I suppose.
Yeah, yes, yeah. I suppose that's a reasonable point. Yeah, but regardless, at the very least, it at least was built up pretty decently well.
Right. You got anything to add, Scrappy?
It speaks to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we want to continue, or is everyone ready to call it for the night?
I assumed we were finishing, but what do you guys want to do?
Let's see. I'm fine either way.
Okay. What do you want to do, Nova?
I don't know. I can't. I mean, I'm technically I'm still completely fine with going a little bit longer, but at the same time, I'm also thinking about the runtime.
Let me see. It's been an hour 26 minutes, so it's around the same time as like, till we make our Ascent episode. Or, well, maybe not.
Oh no, those go 2 hours.
Okay, so it's you. I guess it's a bit longer than, say, like your Super Mario Show episode, but not by too much.
All right, we can call it. We do need to actually we do need to stretch this story out to have stuff to read before the Duel of the Fates.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because like we what is it, my estimate was like 5 episodes for this story. I don't think we're even gonna reach that.
Actually, we are due to, by our designated schedule that we definitely always follow to the letter. We are due now for a breather episode.
Yeah, we were gonna do one today, but plans fell through and all that. Like they do
Yes,
a lot.
So, yeah, as they want to do with us.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know when we'll resume recording. I'm gonna presume Ethan, if he wants to be anything, would have to wait till Saturday. So who knows when we record again?
Did he want to be in the Scooby thing?
Yeah, yes, he was our designated Scrappy Doo voice.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Oh, hi, people coming in to this episode, to our show for the first time. We're reading a Scooby-Doo story.
Indeed. And I keep dying to this stupid boss.
Yes, so if we want to read that story, we'd have to wait till Saturday. So if we, by some chance, decide to record sometime earlier in the following week, then I'd have to find something else over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're in the wilderness again.
Oh, God.
But until then, I don't have any fancy ending quote. Just this has been story time with Scrappy and friends, and once again, I thank my cast for their assistance.
Always glad to be here to record the shenanigans.
Nova, excellent job carrying pretty much everything.
Yeah, that's what I said. You should probably be the narrator from here on out. Because, if apparently I've done as well as you guys said I've done, then might be the best idea going forward. Just saying.
Yeah. No, I
Never.
No, I can see what you mean by that though, because I think with you being the narrator, and I mean no offense for the Scrappy, but it feels like it definitely feels like episodes or chapters are going by a lot faster now because of that.
It will be. I will consider it in the near future, but you will pry the Super Mario show from my cold dead. You will pry it from my cold unconscious hands.
Oh, I'm not taking that from you. I'm just saying for anything that's not your project.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Again, that, yeah, yeah. Basically. Yeah, I got nothing else to add to any of that. So we good for
We have
closing?
we have 1 week left of October, so yeah, we should try and read a spooky story soon.
Yeah. Otherwise, otherwise it's not going to be relevant anymore.
Yep. And that's why, for absolute horror, we are reading my early drafts. No.
Oh God. Oh dear.
The real horror is that we never actually end our episodes when we say we're going to end them.
Yeah. I will say this. I would be open to Automelon like joining us for one of these, but that's I guess there's something we'll have to like discuss with him at some point, because I don't want to cut into his time or what have you. I don't know how busy he is.
No one is too busy to read Duel of the Fates with us,
Oh, of course.
except everyone who turned us down.
Oh dear.
It's happening, eventually.
Yep. That should just be Seabrain's slogan in a nutshell. Like, it'll happen eventually.
We surpassed the 90-minute mark.
Indeed.
Thank you all, and have a good night.
Yeah, bye.
Let's sign off.